Hey there, it's Nina with Walla Stamping. Thank you so much for joining me today. So yesterday I did a unannounced impromptu Facebook Live and was showing the new Stampin' Blends alcohol markers that are going to be coming available. And I was asking the gals on Facebook if they wanted to see a box or a card today. And I got about a 50-50 answer. Some wanted a box, some wanted a card. So I thought I'd just go ahead and give you both of them today. Now I've done something kind of similar to this recently, but I did gift tags and I did a really small, like 3x3 box or something along that size. So this is kind of the same idea where you can present this card as a gift in a small box, or if you wanted to make, say, 3 of these cards and put them in this box with their envelopes and present that as a gift to someone to send out, then that's kind of what I've got going on in my brain with this project. I'm going to be sharing a technique with you that I saw Jennifer McGuire doing this week, and it's some partial die cutting, and I hope that I can pull it off for you and make it understandable. So it's really a fun little technique to do, and I'm using the Night in Bethlehem bundle for this card because this is probably my favorite die set from the holiday catalog this year, and I have used it for so many different projects. I'm also going to be using my Lots of Labels as well as my Layering Ovals Framelits dies. And so let's go ahead and get the measurements in the paper and all of that underway, and you don't have to worry about writing anything down. If you go over to my blog post on this project, there will be a printable PDF that'll give you all of the list of supplies as well as all the measurements and where to score and cut and all those things. So the card base is going to be 8.5 by 5.5, and then what we're going to do is just fold it in half on the 4.25 inch line, and then just fold and burnish that with our bone folder. So that's the base of our card. Then I'm going to pull this into view so I can kind of talk about it as we're going. The background here, we're going to do Night of Navy. I've got this cut to 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, and then the panel that's on the front is some Very Vanilla. I didn't tell you the card base is Very Vanilla as well. This is cut to 5 1/4 by 4. And then for the sentiments on the outside of the card, we're going to need a couple that are 2 by 3, Very Vanilla and Night of Navy. We're going to need 2 additional in that same size, which I must cut this, it's a little bit too long. But anyway, you'll need 2 Night of Navy and 2 Very Vanilla, that's 2 by 3 inches. And both of those are going to be to do the sentiment on the outside of your envelope box and the inside or the outside of your card. Then for the inside of the card, let me show you what I've got going on here. I've got this other sentiment that I have the Night of Navy backing behind. So what you're going to need for that is a piece of Night of Navy, and let me double check my measurements here. This is 4 by 2, and then the Very Vanilla is 3.5 by 1 3/4. So let's set this aside, and then I'm going to show you what I've got here is I just took a bunch of scraps from my scrap stash and used my largest Lots of Label framelit die, and I cut out a bunch of these. I have layered together here 7, and this is what works for my Big Shot machine, and when we get to the cutting part I'll show you exactly what I mean. You would just have to experiment with this and with your machine to see how many layers you're going to need to build up for this. You might take less, you might take more, because I know that every machine is not exactly alike. So that being said, let me grab my front panel, which is my Very Vanilla that was 5 1/4 by 4. I'm going to take this piece that I have created here, and I'm going to stick this on top of this panel and get it centered. All right. So I have my regular Big Shot platform on my Big Shot, and I have one cutting pad. You're going to set your Big Shot up like you would if you were doing embossing. And then what I'm going to do is, of course, this is the back, but this little part of this die is actually a blade that would cut through the paper, and I don't want that cut because I just want the top of this cut out and I want to leave the bottom intact. So what I'm going to do is, of course, put this on the other side of the paper, but I'm going to line that up so that the bottom blade on this die is below this edge of the paper. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to hold it up to the light so I can see where that pad is on the back. Get that lined up, put it down on my cutting pad, place my other cutting pad on top, and then run that through. You don't want your machine to struggle to get this through. It should be relatively smooth going through your machine. And then as you can see, I'm going to take that pad off the back. It's only cut up here and it did not cut down at the bottom where the cutting blade is on that die. Okay, so it looks like everything is going to break loose for me. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to switch out my regular Big Shot platform. I'm going to put on my magnetic platform, which is actually a little bit thicker. I'm going to place my front panel on with the top of these buildings facing the roller in my Big Shot. Then I'm going to take my largest lots of labels framelit, and I'm going to lay that down in the center of my cardstock. Take my top cutting pad, lay that down so that the edge of it is going to be lined up where I want to stop cutting. So this whole area here will not get cut because there's no pressure on it from this top cutting pad. So I'm just going to line that up, and what I'm doing is right here where this thinlet this framelit comes around right here and right here, that's where I want my cut line to stop. So I'm going to carefully remove that from my paper. Any areas that needs a little help coming loose, just use a little X-Acto knife, or if you have some small snips, you could use that too. While I have my Big Shot out, I should probably just go ahead and cut out the rest of my buildings. So to do that with, I have a couple of pieces that are 3 by 6. This is soft suede and this is crumb cake. So let me grab my 2 edgelets. And the larger city I'm going to cut out from the soft suede, and the smaller one, and when I say larger and smaller, I'm talking about how tall they are in this direction. And that one's wanting to spin on me just a little bit because my plates are warped. So we're going to cut this out. I have a little scrap piece of some gold foil, and you don't have to do this if you don't want to. I just like the look of it, and I'm going to fill in the windows with the gold foil. And to do that, I'm just going to turn the pieces over on their backs and just cut small pieces of my gold foil. Make sure that it fits, cut it down as necessary, and I'm just going to adhere these to the back with my multi-purpose liquid glue. So I'm going to get this done off camera, and then when I'm finished, I'll be back. Okay, so I got my gold foil sheets stuck to the back of all 3 of these, and as you can see, it is nothing pretty about it, but that's not going to be seen anyway, so it is okay that it doesn't look good on the back. I went ahead and stamped my sentiments, the one for the inside, the one for the outside of the box and the one for the front side of the card. This one I cut out with the second from the smallest plain oval as well as the second from the smallest scallop oval. This one I did with the fourth from the smallest plain and scalloped, and then of course these are already cut to size. I just made sure that I stamped it in the center of my Very Vanilla. To attach all these together, I'm just going to use some fast fuse. Get that centered up there. Now to attach this to the front of my card, I'm going to use some fast fuse and just stick that down right in the center of that burlap ribbon. I want to attach these two together, so in order to do that, I'm just going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue. Then I want to attach these to the back of this card. So I kind of eyeball it and determine kind of where I want that to go. So what I'm going to do is put adhesive on the back of this piece and then attach my other piece behind it. Now I'm just going to take a little dollop of glue, just a little bitty bit, and stick both of those palm trees down. Now I want to stick this to my matting of the Night of Navy, and you can use dimensionals here if you want to, but because it's a larger surface to have to stick down, I'm just going to use this double-sided foam tape, and that way I won't have to use up so many of my dimensionals. I like using the dimensionals for smaller projects, but something this big that would take quite a few, I'm just going to use this tape. Now I want to stick it to the front of my card. I'm just going to use the multi-purpose liquid glue for that. Now the outside of our card is done. I want to attach the sentiment on the inside. Just going to use my fuse for that. You could also use the multi-purpose liquid glue or glue dots for this, or snail. So now my card is complete. Let me show you how to make the box for this card to fit in, or you could do like I said and make about 3 of these and put them in the box and give the whole thing as a gift. So here is the box. I already have the sentiment for it. We're going to use another piece of the burlap, and you can just eyeball this if you want to, but it's going to be about the same size as the previous piece that we used. So I'm going to get that cut. You'll be using your envelope punch board to make this, and what you're going to need for this is a piece of your Very Vanilla that is cut to 8.5 by 8.5. Then we're going to put it in our envelope scoreboard, our envelope punch board, and we're going to line it up at 4 3/8 inches over here on the left first, then punch and score. Then we're going to slide it over to 5 1/8, which there's a little tick mark right here just past the 5, and that would be your 1/8 inch mark. Punch and score, then turn it to the left a 1/4 turn, and this time instead of measuring up here, this little tail that you see, we're going to line that up with the previous score line that we made. Punch and score again, slide that over so that the second score line and that little tail match up, punch and score again, and then do that on the next 2 sides. Then I'm going to use the corner rounder that is in my envelope punch board and round all of my corners. Fold and burnish all of my score lines. Then I'm going to take my scissors and snip up this little tab and then cut a small wedge out of it. Then this one, cut a little wedge, flip it around to the other side and do that again. You want to do this on the side. Let me put this down and show you. These 2 triangles are a little bit larger than these. So where you want to cut your tabs is alongside those larger triangles. Then we're going to assemble our box. So these will tuck in, and this will tuck up just like that. Then those little tabs will come in and this will close. Alrighty, so before we adhere this all together, I'm going to be putting some adhesive down to stick my ribbon, and I'm going to mark the place where I want that to be, just with a little mark with my pen. Doesn't need to be big, it's just a place for me to know where to put my adhesive. I'm going to use Fast Fuse. Put a little piece there and a small piece right there. So I'm going to also run a strip of my Fast Fuse around this edge right here and this one right here, and this is on the small triangles, and I'm going to flip that back over, tuck those two tails in. Actually, I've got it upside down. Let me turn it around so it'll make sense. So I'm going to stick this side down and then work on this side. Get everything lined up and get that adhered over there. Then I have my two little pieces of adhesive right here. I'm going to stick my burlap ribbon into both of those. I've got my sentiment here. I'm going to use my Stampin' Dimensionals. And stick those right down on top of that burlap. And if you noticed, I did not put any adhesive in the center of that burlap, and here is the reason why. You'd want to slide your cards as well as your envelopes down into the box. Then to hold this box closed, I'm using the sentiment and that burlap ribbon, and I'm just sticking the tip of that box right down underneath that burlap, and that will hold the box closed. Easy to put together and beautiful all at the same time. So let me get one of these cards back out so that you can look at it again. Tuck that back down under that burlap ribbon. Keep that box closed. So here are the two cards along with the two boxes, and I really do like how these turned out. I think that they're very simple but very beautiful at the same time. I love the gold foil shining through those windows, and I'm actually going to be giving these away to 2 people. In order to be entered to win this, all you have to do is go over to my blog at wallastamping.com and find the post for this project. Leave a comment, and I will draw 2 people's names to win this project. So I hope that that is something that you'll be excited about, and that you will go over and leave comments so that you can win. I also have these, which I had made earlier in the week, and if you'll find the blog post for this project, then and leave a comment on there, I will draw a couple of people to win these as well. There's a little sachet inside, and it smells really, really good. And I think I called that teacher thank you gift or teacher thank you gift pouch, I believe is what I called those. So find those and leave a comment too. So anyway, I hope that you have enjoyed this project today, and if you did, I would love for you to give the video a thumbs up. Now, as I said before, I am going to have a list of all of the supplies for this project in the description box below this video. I'll also have the printable PDF sheet that's going to be over on my blog that you can print out with dimensions, supplies, and detailed instructions on how to create this project. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I really do hope that you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you're not going to miss any of my paper crafting tutorial videos. Be sure to sign up for my newsletter as well, because I send out exclusive tutorials to my subscribers at least once a month, and I also make you aware of any specials that I'm having as well as Stampin' Up. Thank you for spending time with me today, and I will talk to you soon.